website homepage at kbla1580.com and click on the icon that says KBLA Guest Editorials to learn more about our editorial standards and content submission guidelines. As long as the topic aligns with our mission, we are happy to review your submission and consider it for broadcast. We can't make any promises, but we want to amplify progressive perspectives that are community-focused and solution-oriented. So go to kbla1580.com right now to download all the information you need about our guest editorials. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. I've got a very special show for you today. One of my good friends, Wallace Gator Bradley, now Reverend Dr. Wallace Gator Bradley, will be our special guest in the first hour of the program. But before I bring on Wallace Gator Bradley, I want to offer a sincere appreciation to Tavis Smiley. Who had one of my colleagues on his show earlier today, Congressman Bobby Rush. And I guess to some degree, the cat's out the bag. Congressman Bobby Rush, along with Congressman Danny Davis, and a number of Chicagoans have come together encouraging me to seriously consider running for Congress again for such a time as this. I'm overwhelmed by the outpouring of people who've shown support saying, listen, we need a voice in the Congress who can speak to all of our issues, speak to the history of our issues. When I was serving in the Congress of the United States, the late Congressman John Lewis used to call me the historian of the Congressional Black Caucus. And in my book, A More Perfect Union, Advancing New American Rights, which I spent 5 years writing between 1995 and 2000, when I first got elected, I released it in 2001 with the late Frank Watkins. We updated it in 2019, and shortly thereafter, Frank Watkins died of COVID. It is available at Amazon.com, but in a real sense, it is the only Democratic alternative to Project 2025. I can't imagine that almost 20 plus years ago, we saw Newt Gingrich and the right wing in this country moving in this direction. And so the opportunity to bring that forward does matter, I think, to our body politic, because we're not hearing things from the Democratic Party to which we can rally behind. Lastly, I want to say this. I shared with Tavis and I've shared with others that I love being on the radio. And I do my very best to never miss a single show, and I never plan to miss a show. I love radio, and I love what we're doing and what Tavis is trying to build at KBLA. And so if, in fact, I make that decision to run for Congress, and if I were fortunate enough to win, I would take this radio show with me to Capitol Hill. And we would have access from Dominique DePrima to Tavis Smiley to Nee Quartelai-Corte. We would have access to some of the most amazing guests that the world has to offer, because I would definitely be in their face to have them on KBLA Talk 1580. That's just how much I appreciate this opportunity. That's how serious I am about this opportunity. And I'm a very sharing spirit. I'm going to help put some of these congressmen on Dominique DePrima's show. I'm going to put some of these senators and congressmen on Tavis's show at my request. If I have to run over and knock on their doors myself, some of them will be Democrats, some of them will be conservative, some of them we will agree with, some of them we will disagree with. But an opportunity to get in front of some of these people would be an amazing opportunity to show the kind of growth and leadership that Tavis Smiley represents, how important his voice is for such a time as this. Anyway, let me move now to, I've never mentioned it on the program because I come to work every day as a professional, and I intend to be a professional, and I don't plan to use the airwaves to promote myself. But I do enjoy very much stimulating and thoughtful dialogue that we only get here at KBLA Talk 1580. With that said, I got a very special guest today, a very good friend of mine who's going to join me after the break. He is Wallace Gator Bradley, now Reverend Dr. Wallace Gator Bradley. Wallace has an amazing resume that, believe it or not, began in the streets of Chicago. Wallace Gator Bradley is a prominent figure in Chicago, known for his past as an enforcer of the gangster disciples and his subsequent work as a community activist and peacemaker. He is a living legend who transitioned from a life of gang involvement to advocating for peace and positive change in all of our communities. The Reverend Jesse Jackson has tremendous faith in Wallace Gator Bradley. Reverend Al Sharpton has tremendous faith in his leadership. Bradley, nicknamed Gator, grew up on Chicago's South Side and became involved with the Gangster Disciples, one of the city's largest gangs. He rose to become their chief enforcer. He received a pardon from Governor James R. Thompson in 1989, which allowed him to regain his citizenship rights. He's known for his efforts to bridge divides between rival gangs and promote peace in the community. He's worked with community activist Andrew Holmes, whose daughter was a victim of gun violence, to address violence in Chicago. He's also involved with organizations like the 21st Century Vote, which encourages gang members to participate in the political process. When we come forward on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, my very special guest will be one of my very special friends, Reverend Dr. Wallace Gator Bradley on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, everyone. My name is Raquel Graham, and I have a big announcement to make. I have my own radio show. It debuts on KBLA 1580 on August 2nd, and it is called Entrepreneuring. I'm an inventor, a Shark Tank winner, entrepreneur for over a decade, and a proud mom of two. I created this show because I know firsthand that entrepreneurship doesn't have just one look. Entrepreneuring celebrates what building a business really looks like. Big, medium, small, and micro. Some of us are running multi-million-dollar operations. Some of us are braiding hair in our kitchens. We're bakers, grant writers, laundromat owners, event promoters. Mark your calendars. Please tune in August 2nd, KBLA 1580 at 1 p.m. Pacific time. No question is too big or small. Let me know what you'd like for me to cover. See you then.
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
Yeah. At KBLA Talk 1580, we're proud to be celebrating 4 years on the air, but we know we could not have made it this far without you. We work hard every single day to curate conversations that will enlighten, encourage, and empower you. So, from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, a big thank you for your love and support.
You don't know how much you mean to me.
And by By the way, if your smartphone did not update automatically, be sure to download our brand new KBLA 1580 app. We think you'll love all the new features, including new ways to send us photos and video in real time. Whenever news breaks, while we're on the air, it's a new dawn, a new day for KBLA Talk 1580. And we're glad you're on this journey with us.
You never turned away, you were right there. And I thank you, thank you.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Gator B.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
You know, I'm putting it out there because I believe putting righteous things out there in the atmosphere make righteous things happen. That being said, based on the fact of how great of a congressman you were, and you brought over close to $1 billion to a community. When I saw the poll numbers, and when I hear the young adults, now I got a great grandson that's 17, and he knows you. Thank God for the social media being what it is, because it helps you to connect from a VHS atmosphere to a TikTok atmosphere. And when the young adults and the old adults Google your name, they get 4, if not 5 decades of the work and your service to the community. I know it. I'll never forget January 8th, 1994. When your father and the Rainbow Push Coalition had a summit in Washington, D.C. And I was invited to that summit with some of the well-known people. They go on C-SPAN and saw it. I'm talking about the who's who at that time. And I'm just giving my analogy from what I was witnessing, and I could be wrong. But President Clinton, even though Rainbow Push, your dad and others helped him to get elected, it was like he was standoffish. Now, this is just my observation. I may not have been the situation. But when your father reached out to everyone and showed the breadth of the Rainbow Coalition, and it was almost Clinton's cabinet. So it's like when he called them to D.C. to meet, and when they took a lunch, everyone realized that it was a solution to a lot of things. And about a week later is when your dad, because of Reverend Sharpton, had asked your father to make me part of a delegation to go to the White House to meet with Bill Clinton to try to convince him not to push the crime bill. And it allowed me to speak globally because it was no longer nationally and definitely not local of the importance of me letting the world know a person that was once illiterate in the penitentiary that learned how to read in the penitentiary. And when I read the crime bill and I saw what it was pushing for an individual that would be tagged as a gang member wouldn't be able to get a Pell Grant. Fast forward, I concur with what your former colleagues have said about the importance and the significance for you to be in Congress. And people in the community, man, I don't care what they say. You know your heart, and I'm saying this because you got a testimony that if people can't read, they can hear, and they realize it's a sermon. Because you got to go through something to be able, in my opinion, for God to reach out and use you as a vehicle at this time and place, man. And I'm saying that wholeheartedly.
Let me just add this, Wallace, if I can, because I really got so many other questions I want to ask you, and I did not plan on having a show about myself. I never do, and so I kind of leave, what may happen politically over there. But I do want to say this: it is if in fact I make that decision, I know it will be poor campaign. I ain't got no money. It's going to be a poor campaign, but if I undertake it, it's going to be a rich message now.
Yes.
And the whole country's going to be paying attention to it, but I'm not going to miss my radio show. And let me tell you one other thing. This is what I envision if it came to pass. I would want KBLA. I would have a full-time communications director who's going to help me hunt down members of Congress, put them on the radio. And they'll be on, hopefully, KBLA, on VON, whatever Tavis's vision is for this show, to be all over the country, and we'll be able to grab some people in real time and say, come on over here now, let's have this conversation in real time because the nation is listening. Now, that is a platform that matters to us, in my opinion, for such a time as this. I mean, I can speak on one radio show at a time or one program at a time, but if we can get to that space, by the grace of God, hopefully we're in the majority. Got a lot to do if we're in the majority. If we're in the minority, that is, we lose these seats in Texas that Abbott is trying to redraw. And California and these other places around the country are thinking about open New Jersey, New York, the state of Illinois, all thinking about changing in the middle of the decade their congressional districts and state representative districts because Donald Trump wants to maintain a majority in the Congress of the United States. I think it makes sense to have Tavis's voice,
correct,
Dominique's voice, Nee Cortez voice in that building. And if we can express to the nation what's going on in real time, we got 62 blacks in Congress. We may have, by 2032, only 20 blacks in Congress after this redistricting that they're trying to do in the middle of the decade. And we ought to have somebody in there who knows something about the history. But let me put that behind me. I want to get to you for a second, because the last couple of days, Wallace, we've been talking, Reverend Dr. Bradley, we've been talking about black men have not been participating in the electoral system. They've been kind of like out of it, right? In some cases, they've been openly advocating for Donald Trump and for Mac. From your perspective, what's going on with young black men? Why are they disengaging from the political process?
Because we got to take the hint from what MAGA's doing. Speaking for myself, I'm an advocate because I was taught by push to shove.
You
You
were
follow
taught
what
by
I'm saying?
you were taught by push to
To
shove.
shove. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is shoving the truth.
Yeah,
I got
yeah,
a pardon.
yeah.
You just shared my resume. Some people may call it a resume because it's spelled the same way. You know, you follow what I'm saying? But the fact of the matter is here, they don't see, and I'm not just by myself. We across the country. This form that you're speaking of with Tavis Smiley, and I know him well, you know what I mean? Because I follow him. I know him, you know, and again, if it don't be for push broadening my horizon, I would never have met these individuals. But
Mm.
back to your question, I'm not knocking VON, but I've tried to get a show on VON so it'll be an alternative to the MAGA voice that feel that they can get sponsors to go on VON.
Mm.
You follow what I'm saying?
Mm.
So if they don't see a voice like mine, they see the image of a black that's speaking Trump and everything else, and they will feel that's the way that they should go.
Mm. Well, I don't want to single them out because what you're saying is happening in other parts of the country
Right.
is that the sponsorships are coming in behind some of these new black voices, criticizing, black elected officials and criticizing the Democratic Party for what it is not doing. And I argue that the more voices that we have, including yours and certainly including our leader, Brother Smiley's
Right.
voice, it speaks to the authentic truth
Correct.
of who we are. I mean,
Correct.
where else can you know what? Both of us are formerly incarcerated.
That's what I'm talking about. Listen what I'm telling you, man. Because again, I talk about your dad so much because I feel like he helped raise me. You know, your mother and them never said, Gator, I couldn't come in the house. I even brought my kids into the house. So that's a type of family thing that we need to get back into. And the thing is this, we can speak to what is happening now and what is real. I saw uh, a piece on your page when you was heading towards a forum, and I call it Wisdom, Knowledge, and Understanding, and a woman in the car. But what was so wonderful, I was able to see what the forum was about, and the mayor of New York.
No, Mayor of Los Angeles, Mayor
No,
Bass.
I'm sorry. The
Yeah.
mayor of Los Angeles was explaining what was happening in real time.
This was the environmental forum that we did at KBLA on our 4th anniversary.
Right. And just what you're saying, if it don't be for Tavis Smiley having this show, and you and Cornell West was on your way to a forum that he was having, and
he was dealing with inflation. He was dealing with inflation.
hey, I'm just funny, but it's factual. And like you say, that's the voices that they missing coming out of Congress. I see Congresswoman Crockett, and I see Maxine Waters being the tree and she being the fruit that hasn't fell far from the tree. You understand what I'm saying?
She's a deep sister, but Sister Crockett is right there in the Maxine Waters tradition, no doubt about it.
Yes. And my thing is this. there's others that this show, if God bless you with being elected, and if you don't get elected, we still got to make sure you got to get in there so they can have the voice.
Well, even if I don't get elected, let me tell you this, Walter, I don't want to keep talking about that, but I want people to download the KBLA Talk 1580 app because we got to stay connected to a central national source. Black people in this age where Trump getting paid by ABC, getting paid by 60 Minutes, destroying national media, kicking Don Lemon off TV, getting rid of our voices at every level of the process. We got to have an independent place,
right,
where the voice is trustworthy, where it is has credibility, where it works every single day, advocating the cause of progressive politics, unapologetically Black, and we need to support those voices. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. This is KBLA Talk 1580. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and when we come forward, more with Reverend Dr. Wallace Gator Bradley.
The biggest names,
the best conversations.
You're riding with Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Former Vice President Kamala Harris is releasing a new memoir, 107 Days, on September 23rd.
Since leaving office, I've spent a lot of time reflecting on those days, talking with my team, my family, my friends, and pulling my thoughts together. In essence, writing a journal that is this book, 107 Days.
It covers what she calls the, quote, shortest presidential campaign in modern history. Sean Diddy Combs' legal team is asking a judge to overturn his Mann Act conviction, arguing he did not profit, arrange, or engage in the acts. They say his role was limited to voyeurism, which is not considered prostitution in many states. And Black veteran Illinois Congressman Danny Davis is retiring after 15 terms. The 83-year-old Democrat will endorse State Rep LaShawn Ford to replace him in the 7th District. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Emergencies can happen at any time. That's why building an emergency kit and having a plan is so important. Southern California Edison stays ready for the unexpected, and they encourage you to be prepared too. For more information and to update your outage alerts, visit SCE.com/be prepared.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers lost at Cincinnati 5-2. Their lead in the NL West is down to 3 games over San Diego. The Padres have won 5 straight. The Angels' 3-game winning streak was snapped with a 6-3 loss at home to Texas. The highest paid offensive lineman in the NFL plays for the Chargers. Left tackle Rashawn Slater signed a 4-year extension worth $114 million. $92 million is guaranteed. Slater, entering his 5th season with the Chargers, will average $28.5 million with his new deal. The HBCU Legacy Bowl, an all-star game for HBCU football players, got a major financial boost from the John Madden Foundation. The foundation, named in honor of the legendary NFL broadcaster, agreed to cover all expenses for the Legacy Bowl Career Fair, which attracts more than 800 HBCU students from around the country. The Legacy Bowl is scheduled for February 21st in New Orleans. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., inviting you to join me weekdays at 12 noon, right after Tavis Smiley, here on KBLA Talk 1580. As a law school graduate and a theologian, with a firm grasp of our body politic given almost 2 decades in Congress, my show is the fresh new home of an authentic, uncompromised quest for transformation and salvation, both personal and collectively, as I vigorously interrogate the theological and symbolic meanings embedded in our society. I promise to leverage my knowledge of history, theology, and both international and domestic issues to imagine an inclusive vision for the future, which I hope will inspire all of us to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness as a given, not just an aspiration. So join me weekdays at 12 noon right after Tavis Smiley for 2 hours of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Founded in Los Angeles in 1986, litigation powerhouse Quinn Emanuel has deep roots in the Los Angeles community. Since 2007, we have litigated some of the largest fires on the West Coast. We are proud to be the only AmLaw 100 firm in the country to represent wildfire victims, giving affected individuals, families, and businesses the same focus and individualized attention we devote to our Fortune 500 clients. BTI Consulting has repeatedly recognized Quinn Emanuel as among the 4 law firms in-house counsel least likely to oppose in any litigation, and we are often deemed the most feared. And after securing over $80 billion for our clients in various matters firm-wide, we understand why. If you have been affected by the recent wildfires in Altadena and the Palisades and would like to discuss your situation further, please contact wildfire support at QuinnEmanuel.com or call us at 213-443-3050. Quinn Emanuel is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Hey, man. Hey, what's up? What's the station you listening to? Oh, man, you don't know? That's Talk Radio. KBLA 1580 AM. Check it out. 1580 KBLA AM. 1580 Talk Radio. Progressive.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we're celebrating our 4th anniversary. And this track right here is the gift one of our devoted listeners presented to us.
Where you get some information, get a true education to know. Ooh, yeah. 1580.
How cool is that? Having a member of our KBLA delegation write us a song. Stop it. Our listeners love us and there ain't nothing we can do about it. Wouldn't want to. Thanks to Cardell and everybody else for turning on KBLA Talk 1580. We love you right black.
KBLA 1580 Talk Radio. Talk Radio. Progressive. KBLA.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. My very special guest in this hour is none other than Reverend Dr. Wallace Gator Bradley, from gangster disciple to a disciple of Jesus of Nazareth. Gator, listen. You better listen. Gator's one of his most famous statements. You better listen. You better listen. Gator, listen. Reverend, let me ask you this. I don't know a person whose life represents 180-degree transformation greater than yours. I just don't. And I want to ask you the question now that you've accepted your calling in the full-time ministry. What does it take to help young men transform themselves from where they were to where they are and where they ought to be? Help us here, Dr. Bradley.
All they got to do is see it and know that it can happen. They had what is called a C number picnic. C number is individuals like Larry Hoover that have the indeterminate time. When I went to the picnic, and everybody had heard that I had been ordained, and I saw hundreds of brothers and sisters. Some of them that had life, but they were out.
Mm.
And one brother I'm going to see shortly is Brother Greg Michelle. He was locked up with Larry Hoover, and Biden gave him a pardon.
Mm.
But you know, Brother Benny Lee and others. And I said to myself, I felt like I was giving a sermon on a mount, man.
Mm.
Because everybody had a testimony, because I know they all prayed to God, Lord, if you let me out of here, including you.
I prayed that prayer, doctor. I
You
prayed that
know what
prayer.
I'm saying? And so for them to be aware of their own testimony, it gives their own self-worth, where they can go and tell the next individual, starting with their children, that there's consequences to your actions. See, they don't want us to be able to do this. They gave Larry Hoover 6 life terms, not because he was a serial killer, for a drug case. And the reason that they did it is because he heard the voice from your dad and other leaders. The only way to turn one's mind from criminal activity is to get him civically engaged.
Mm.
So they put the call out. You remember that we had the gang summit in Chicago. And all the young adults and children that came to push realized the civic engagement and the struggle that the young adults in the past, like your dad and them, were young adults, man.
But Gator, let me ask you this question, because it has come up. Civic engagement without, let's say, the proper education,
correct,
can lead someone to, let's say, vote for Biden or vote for Trump. Let's just look at the last.
Correct.
So I don't know. Well, I do know actually the history from Abraham Lincoln in 1854, the starting of the Republican Party, all the way to the party of how it became the party of Donald Trump and MAGA.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
But I also know the party of Thomas Jefferson, which was a states' rights slave party, 1792, 1793, all the way up to the party of Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris. I got the history. So when I read the history of our progress, when I see where Dr. King was and John Lewis was, and those who've advocated for our brothers in the streets to get their second, third, fourth, and fifth chances in the system, my vote goes towards someone who I believe is part of that tradition.
Correct.
What I can't figure out is why our young brothers are voting for people who are not part of that tradition and angry at folk who are part of a tradition of Black liberation. I ain't never heard nobody in MAGA arguing to free no brothers or pardon no brothers or for the second chances of no brothers. I've just never heard that before.
Hey, because they get tricked with the word change. So then you have brother, because I see him all the time, and I have to tell them, you got right to vote for who you want to vote for. But it's hard for me to understand that you are ex-felon. You may have a daughter, a wife, surely a mother. and you convince them to be for a man that feel like he got the right to abuse a woman and definitely don't care about a black woman.
Mm.
So you got to have a voice that's letting them know, dude, you ain't right. You got it right. But the minister, maybe, I'm just being hypothetical. Say out of 10 individuals, you got 3 that's pushing that way. But with the MAGA movement, the alt-right movement, with their different shows and everything else, they put all the hype on them. So that's all that the young adults see on TikTok. Case in point, they want to get rid of Mayor Brandon because it's been indoctrinated by the little 3 out of 7 that he ain't doing nothing.
Mm.
He just been there 2 years. He's done a lot.
Mm.
Even with the education, he's done a lot. Even with the fact that he's showing them. You go on the west side, you ain't seen that much development on the west side, man, since it was burnt down, man, in the 60s.
Mm.
That's why Travis Malley's show and VON's show and the other 3 shows that may be out there or station that's out there is so important.
Yeah.
So I go where they at because they come where I'm at. And when I see them, okay, look, man, why you coming around here and we talking about unity and trying to educate the young adults about voting and why they vote matters? And you convincing them that, hey, man, you shouldn't vote. Don't vote on this. Okay, look, we don't need JB. Then they come and say, well, Gator, when JB gonna pardon Larry? I said, it's a process. He's gonna do that because that's his heart. Because I was instrumental in pushing for JB to even run for governor because I realized he had spent $100 million to help those that was wrongfully convicted and unjust.
Mm. Brother Gator, I got to pause for station identification. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. When we come forward, more with Reverend Dr. Wallace Gator Bradley.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we're proud to be celebrating 4 years on the air, but we know we could not have made it this far without you. We work hard every single day to curate conversations that will enlighten, encourage, and empower you. So, from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, a big thank you for your love and support.
You don't know how much you mean to me.
And by the way, if your smartphone did not update automatically, be sure to download our brand new KBLA 1580 app. We think you'll love all the new features, including new ways to send us photos and video in real time. Whenever news breaks, while we're on the air, it's a new dawn, a new day for KBLA Talk 1580. And we're glad you're on this journey with us.
You never turned away, you were right there. Thank you, thank you.
Nearly 7 million Americans aged 65 and older are living with Alzheimer's disease or AD. But did you know that Black adults aged 65 and older are twice as likely as white adults to develop AD? You may be able to reduce your risk by managing conditions like diabetes and high blood pressure, being physically active, eating healthy, and exercising your mind. To learn more about AD, the importance of early diagnosis and intervention, and a potential treatment option, visit treatalzearly.com. That's treatalzearly.com. This message is brought to you by AZI.
Paul's new drone startup just lost its most genius computer scientist.
We just lost our best genius to some new genius who's got a genius new idea. I'm going to have to find a new genius or two half geniuses and fast.
He needs a computer scientist that can keep his startup from falling down.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show tomorrow on KBLA Talk 1580 on the Gina Towns Show. And throughout the hour, we're going to be discussing Carmen Bowden, what happened to her family, a mother's love, the pain and the fight for the right. Another one of those very sad and difficult stories that exists in our community that we are going to have to elevate and keep elevated, well, until justice rolls down like righteousness of a mighty stream. Tomorrow, Carmen Bolden Day on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show with our regular Friday host, Miss Gina Towns. Wallace, I want to turn Dr. Bradley to you for a moment to share with our listeners your journey from your young adulthood to the circumstances of your life, all the way to the man that we are so proud of today, who needed that journey to become the man that you are today. We all start out on a journey being one way. I've been called some of everything. For 17 years, I was called honorable. 10 years, I was called something else. And then you try and work your way back into the minds and the hearts of the people because you're transformed and you're born again. Share with us your early life and how you got from where you were then to where you are now.
In 1968, I just graduated from grammar school, was going to high school, going to Morgan Park High School. Morgan Park High School had whites that didn't want blacks to be on that side. They even had a little pathway that we walked down. Martin Luther King got killed, got murdered. And the whole country went in an uproar. How could they kill a man of peace? At the time, me and some other brothers, we fighting with the white gangs. Throw a white guy over the railing. Me and the other two guys, we get arrested for mob action. I didn't know it was mob action. I felt like, hey, they killed a man of peace. End up in Artie home. That's how I met all the brothers from the West Side and like the Benny Lees and all of them. Get out later on in life because I was mad at society. I end up going from the Artie home and caught a case of burglary and end up going to the county jail. During that time, I became gang orientated, protecting my community from another community. Start off with neighbors being friends. You're not going to jump on my friend in the show and we ain't going to come back and get you. I end up getting 2 years probation for a robbery. For a burglary. Later on, I'm in the after hour joint. Guns and drugs and the life, dressing the life. Had in my mind that I could be a gangster because I'm saying the gangster movies. Knowing black gangsters because I understood the policy game. My mother was a madam. I'm seeing all this thing. My father was a construction worker. That's how I come out the joint and end up going into working as a construction, doing construction. When I catch the robbery, they come into the after hour joint, they find guns. But the guy identified me because I took my money from the guy. But the judge says, Mr. Bradley, you don't have a victim that's coming to court. You don't have no witnesses that's coming to court. He say, but you violated my probation. I said, okay, well, I got 2 months probation. I can go to, I'm thinking slick, but I didn't get slick until I realized he had a right to give me 5 to 15 for the burglary. And because I violated probation. He said, but if you take the 4 years and a day for a case where you have no victim and no witnesses, I give you 4 years and a day for the burglary and that. And I said to myself, I became a mathematician that day. I'll take 4 years. And I also realized it made me a 2-time loser. If I would have fought somebody about a slice of pizza, I could have got life. I got out of that. I come out the penitentiary. That's why people say, Gator, why you so harping on Larry Hoover? Because we all went into the penitentiary around the same time as fucking illiterates. And he made it that those of us that was following him had to learn how to read. Especially from the members that could read. So when I get out, your dad, Harold Washington had ran to be mayor. Then they came to Jerry Butler for Jerry Butler to run for Cook County Commissioner. I happened to go to Jerry Butler's Iceman Beverages, and I heard that they was talking about him passing out getting petition signed. I helped him get petition signed. He won. I was glad that he had won. I left, and he told me, where you going, Gator? I got the right to bring 5 people in with me, and you one of them. And that's how I went to work for government. When you realize that everything is God's plan, man, he got control of the bad and the good. That's the encompassing of everything. He take us through things, man. That's why I tell everybody, the best book in the Bible to me is the book of Job. And I use that as my GPS, man, to navigate. That's why I don't mean to harp on you running. And I understand what you're saying, believe me. But you really ain't got to say so in it, man. That's how I went through and got through this. I got a pardon and everything else. I became an urban translator. What's an urban translator, Gator? Okay, Aaron Patterson, brother that was on death row, tortured for a crime that he didn't commit. Governor Ryan freed him and others and put them on the street. They was locked up in a mindset they knew they'd never get out, to the point that they was throwing their feces on the guard and everything else, and was set free and got into a court system and was getting ready to sue them. So he jumped on both his lawyers in the court because he didn't trust the system. So I'm in the courtroom and I'm supporting him as an advocate. And he tells the judge, Your Honor, the judge telling him, you want to get you a lawyer. He said, Your Honor, Gator can get me a lawyer. We never had the conversation. She called me to the bench. You got 24 hours to get this man a lawyer. I said, Your Honor, could you make it a court order? She made a court order, Jesse, and it shot me in the system.
Hmm.
And when I went and found the lawyer shared with the judge our culture. Gator against the disciple enforcer. Aaron Patterson, Blackstone Ranger enforcer. Gator got a pardon. Aaron got a pardon. You follow what I'm saying? Gator belonged to one gang. Aaron belonged to another gang. He's the only one that can explain to Aaron that there's only one court where he can try to get a semblance of justice. She put all the city lawyers out of there, kept me, Aaron, and the lawyer, and the marshal there. She asked Aaron, was Mr. Bradley able to translate to you about the court? And he said yes. When we got back before the bench, it was a city lawyer saying, oh, so now he's a translator. So I just put two words together, urban and translator. If I was Hispanic, they would have went and found somebody to speak Espanol. You follow what I'm saying? So I took it and I worked that again. I didn't go to school for that. God, man. And the reason I'm wearing this collar and popping this collar, because he's saying it's time for you to let them know this your ministry. So we can address the questions that you're saying. It's easy to help educate them to know how to vote. They got the phones in their hand. They can research an individual and see who he is before he finished talking.
Urban Translator, I want to welcome you back to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show at some point in time in the not too distant future. Wallace, I'm so glad you were here today.
Hey, I'm so glad that you allowed me to be here. And I want to say to God be the glory. That's Gator's story.
They better listen. They better listen. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to Reverend Dr. Wallace Gator Bradley on KBLA Talk 1580. When we come forward, the Mac Attack with none other than Johnny Mac on KBLA Talk 1580.
80 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Former Vice President Kamala Harris is releasing a new memoir, 107 Days, on September 23rd.
Since leaving office, I've spent a lot of time reflecting on those days, talking with my team, my family, my friends, and pulling my thoughts together. In essence, writing a journal. That is this book, 107 Days.
It covers what she calls the, quote, shortest presidential campaign in modern history. Sean Diddy Combs' legal team is asking a judge to overturn his Mann Act conviction, arguing he did not profit, arrange, or engage in the acts. They say his role was limited to voyeurism, which is not considered prostitution in many states. And Black veteran Illinois Congressman Danny Davis is retiring after 15 terms. The 83-year-old Democrat will endorse State Rep LaShawn Ford to replace him in the 7th District. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Emergencies can happen at any time. That's why building an emergency kit and having a plan is so important. Southern California Edison stays ready for the unexpected, and they encourage you to be prepared too. For more information and to update your outage alerts, visit SCE.com/be prepared.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers lost at Cincinnati 5-2. Their lead in the NL West is down to 3 games over San Diego. The Padres have won 5 straight. The Angels' 3-game winning streak was snapped with a 6-3 loss at home to Texas. The highest paid offensive lineman in the NFL plays for the Chargers. Left tackle Rashawn Slater signed a 4-year extension worth $114 million. $92 million is guaranteed. Slater, entering his 5th season with the Chargers, will average $28.5 million with his new deal. The HBCU Legacy Bowl, an all-star game for HBCU football players, got a major financial boost from the John Madden Foundation. The foundation, named in honor of the legendary NFL broadcaster, agreed to cover all expenses for the Legacy Bowl career fair, which attracts more than 800 HBCU students from around the country. The Legacy Bowl is scheduled for February 21st in New Orleans. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we're proud to be celebrating 4 years on the air, but we know we could not have made it this far without you. We work hard every single day to curate conversations that will enlighten, encourage, and empower you. So, from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, a big thank you for your love and support.
You don't know how much you mean to me.
And by the way, if your smartphone did not update automatically, be sure to download our brand new KBLA 1580 app. We think you'll love all the new features, including new ways to send us photos and video in real time. Whenever news breaks, while we're on the air, it's a new dawn, a new day for KBLA Talk 1580. And we're glad you're on this journey with us.
You never turned away, you were right there. And I thank you, thank you.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. In this, our second hour, Johnny Mack is the principal and managing partner of the Johnny Mack Group, the founding director of the World House Project, Inc. His work and research interests include peace, conflict, and social change and movements. His seminal work, After Confrontation, Then What?, seeks to re-articulate nonviolence beyond the traditional idea of direct resistance to a meta-logic that includes direct, structural, and cultural nonviolence, each having its own form of social action. His professional work focuses on peace and conflict resolution using this meta-logic of nonviolence. In it, he seeks to foster the role of civil society in strengthening the fabric through community building and development, which includes political, social, economic, and cultural strategies. This work seeks to realize Dr. King's vision by building communities without boundaries. Johnny Mack, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, The World House by Johnny Mack. Johnny, I think I have to have you unmute your microphone. As Johnny finds the unmute button on his microphone, I know that it's number 4, F4 key on his computer. There's a little F4 key up there that should release his microphone. Johnny, are you there? Johnny, you're still muted. Okay, I'm going to continue to talk until such time as Johnny is able to unmute his microphone. I was reading while Johnny may have to come out and come back in. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered a speech at the National Cathedral on March 31st, 1968. It was placed in the Congressional Record on April 9th, which would have been 5 days after his death. But the speech was delivered about 4, maybe 5 days before his assassination. In it, Dr. King says, I would like to use as a subject from which to preach this morning, quote, remaining awake through a great revolution. The text for this morning is found in the book of Revelation. There are 2 passages there that I would like to quote. The 16th chapter of that book, behold, I make all things new, former things are passed away. Then this is the most fascinating part of the sermon that I can't get off my mind. I'm sure that most of you have read that arresting little story from the pen of Washington Irving entitled Rip Van Winkle. The one thing that we usually remember about the story is that Rip Van Winkle slept for 20 years. But there's another point in that little story that is almost completely overlooked. It was a sign in the end from which Rip went up the mountain for his long sleep. When Rip Van Winkle went up into the mountain, the sign had a picture of King George III of England. When he came down 20 years later, the sign had a picture of George Washington, the first president of the United States. When Rip Van Winkle looked up at the picture of George Washington and looked at the picture, he was amazed. He had been completely lost he knew not who or where he was. And this reveals, Dr. King says to us, that the most striking thing about the story of Rip Van Winkle is not merely that Rip slept 20 years, but that he slept through a revolution. While he was peacefully snoring up in the mountain, a revolution was taking place that at points would change the course of history. And Rip knew nothing about it. He was asleep. Yes, he slept through a revolution. And one of the great liabilities of life is that all too many people find themselves living amid a great period of social change, and yet they fall and fail to develop the new attitudes, the new mental responses that the new situation demands. They end up sleeping through a great revolution. Now, Dr. King went on to say that I want to talk for a moment about what it means to be awake in the midst of a great revolution. We make in this moment the distinction between taking a nap at night and waking up in the morning, or falling asleep at night and waking up and going to work the next day. Dr. King is suggesting that if you fell asleep in 1980 and you woke up in the year 2000, you would have missed Reagan, you would have missed Bush, you would have missed Clinton, you would have missed Obama, or you'd have just came up to Obama, but you would have been sleeping through an enormous period of change in our nation. If you went to sleep in 2010 and you're still asleep, and you decide to wake up in 2030, when you come into consciousness, in 2010, Barack Obama had been president for just 2 years. That's when you went to sleep. You were in la la land about America and black folk achieving the highest office in the land. You felt good about Obama, Biden. You felt good about our children waking up in the morning and seeing the possibility of who we might become in the United States of America. And then if you woke up around 2020 and you saw Joe Biden, you would have missed the 4 years that Donald Trump was president from 2016 to 2020. And if you'd have woke up in 2030, you'd miss everything that's going on right now. But Dr. King challenges us in this moment to remain awake through a great revolution. When we come forward, our guest will be Johnny Mack on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and we're going to talk about remaining awake in a great revolution.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
Mira, Jorge, Hi, let's bring the nail gun over here.
Jose stands tall atop his sustainable flooring company.
Totally. It's renewable and moisture resistant, but we have several green options too. Or we got some beautiful reclaimed oak.
But floored by his success, he needs to hire more installers.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Jesse Jackson Jr., welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. And I am so grateful that none other than Johnny Mac will be joining us on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Johnny, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. We have a real technical difficulty on that end of the show, but I do want to opine until we're able to work out our small difficulty. It seems to me that we're going to have to turn our attention to the idea that while Erykah Badu may have talked about this idea of being woke, and that means, I guess, paying attention. I guess that means conscious of who we are, our surroundings, and everything that we understand about ourselves. Johnny Mac will tell you that Dr. King was very interested in changing the social arrangement and the edifice upon which Martin Luther King Jr. operated. That social edifice, a new world order. Dr. King was after the idea that one is a revolution of values and the other is in restructuring the very social edifice that is responsible for the values that we live in. Dr. King said it is not enough for us to flick a coin to a beggar. It is in recognizing that a system that produces beggars needs restructuring. What does that restructuring look like? It means undergirding the foundation of the system itself with a floor beneath which no human being can fall. That human dignity itself is undergirded by a minimum standard, and I'd argue an equal high quality standard of what it constitutes to have human life, what meaningful human life in a real material sense means. It does not mean that every person gets a mansion, but it does mean that the very wealthiest person in the nation doesn't have a superior form of health care than the least of these. It does mean a world without starvation. It does mean a roof over every head. It may not be a clay roof or a tile roof, but a roof over everyone's head. It does not mean inequality in education, but it does mean equal high quality education for all people. And so undergirding this idea means that we must be woke in every generation to find out where the resources are being shifted to away from us creating the necessary floor and foundation to sustain our system, to sustain our quality of life, that we might even have the capacity to reflect upon what is right. I do believe we have now resolved the technical issue with none other than Johnny Mac. Johnny Mac, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Jesse, thanks so much. I'm sorry about the technical difficulty.
Oh, not your fault at all, sir. Johnny, I was opining on this question of remaining awake through a great revolution. And Dr. King talked about this revolution can obviously occur between administrations, if you will,
Mm.
from King George III, when he went up the hill to coming down the hill, and there's a picture of George Washington. Suddenly, Rip Van Winkle finds himself in a republic. He went from a monarchy to a republic in just 20 years. Your thoughts about why Dr. King positioned social values in the context of, if you will, Johnny, of wokeness.
Interesting. So, this is 1956, of course, as you know, Jesse, what you read from in terms of King's idea of remaining awake in a great revolution. And King was so prescient in so many ways. There are two things, Jesse, that King worked toward that he didn't realize. One was a revolution of values, and the second one was reordering the social edifice. And in the same way as he wrote in 1956 about facing the challenge of a new age, and in 1959 remaining awake through a great revolution, King understood that people tend to sleep. They tend to become complacent. They tend to take their eye off the prize. And so he writes about sleeping through a revolution. In other words, King recognizes that the revolution is taking place in medias res, as the Latins would say, right now, right here where we are. And it suggests, Jesse, that our movement, that nonviolent social change, is about in time as it is about over time.
Wow.
That is throughout time. And too much of our work is focusing on the end time. And we're asleep on those things that are transpiring right under our noses over time.
Interesting.
This, I believe, is what Jesse, what King is trying to wake us up about. The things that are happening over time, right under our noses.
I am so fascinated by that concept because just listening to you, I think about what took place in the 20 years between 1956 and 1976.
Yes.
I'm thinking about what took place between 1976 and 1996. And then I add 20 years to that, and I think about what took place between 1996 and 2016. And so if that is actually revolutions that are taking place within these 20-year time frames, and again, Rip Van Winkle goes up the hill, and King George III is the king. He comes down the hill. George Washington's president. That's a 20-year period. To your point, Johnny, there is a revolution taking place right now, and you're not conscious of it.
You're not conscious of it. Jesse Jackson Jr., that is the point. It's happening right before our eyes, and we're not aware of it. And we're not conditioned to be aware of it. That's part of the problem. We don't have the social mechanisms in our nonviolent social change movements to even understand and recognize those things that are happening before our eyes. And Jesse, the interesting thing about it is there are others who do understand that process. There are others who do understand the mechanisms, the communicative, the technological mechanisms that affect social change, even, Jesse, get this, that affect social change even non-violently. That work against us. We need to talk about that.
Yeah, I Johnny, you're messing with my head today. Now, so Project 2025
there we go.
Is happening in the present.
Right under our.
There may not be much we can do about it because it's been in the works for at least 20 years. And we think that maybe an election cycle can change it, but it's not. The movement from the courts to the Congress to the presidency have all been aligned as if to frame the framework of a perfect house, even though all of the architects may not have been in the same room at the same time when the blueprint was designed.
Hey, Jesse, and our listeners probably think you and I had this conversation before we came on.
We did not.
We did not, Jesse. Right? So this patient march. Follow me now. This patient march toward realizing a social change. This march toward recognizing a change in the social edifice itself. Stay with me, Jesse. Notice the terms I'm using. Remember now, King calls for a revolution of values, and he calls for a restructuring of the social edifice. Jesse, don't you realize, I'm sure you do, that the very revolution of values and the very restructuring of the social edifice is taking place and has been taking place and has been a nonviolent process that's going to work against us? Imagine that. Think about it.
I was hoping that maybe it was some kind of hoax when I went to my social media news feed on Facebook, and there was a robot walking down the street in Times Square unaccompanied.
Yes.
That they just set it loose in the city and it's walking around doing things and taking place in real life. It does not need health care. It does not need a better school. It does not need public transportation. It does not need the fundamental things that we as human beings desire, and a caring society would be looking out for the least of these. It just doesn't. In fact, if left to its own devices, it doesn't even need the least of these.
Think about this, Jesse. Not only is, the robot, you're dealing with the technological aspect of change and how it is used as a mechanism, as a tool to affect change. The question is, who is using it and how are they using it, and what is the end result? So not only do we have the technology, the digital technology that's affecting this change, we have the communication technology that is affecting the change. And, just think about, I don't know if you've read Yuval Noah Harari's book, Nexus, a really important book that talks about how social media, among other things, and other forms of communication are being used in ways that work against us in realizing our potential and fostering things that don't foster peace and justice, but foster the division of our national and global societies. The efforts of gerrymandering, appointing sympathetic activist judges who would work against peace and justice and full participation in the goods that the world offers us, creating a civic infrastructure of media through digital technology that fosters these kinds of ideologies. These are all means and mechanisms, Jesse, of social change. And we don't realize it. Others are using these mechanisms, and we are not. And so when King says in some of his other writings that we should study and understand the tools and mechanisms of nonviolent social change, that the tools and the mechanisms used in the mid-20th century would not be the ones that would sustain and suffice over time. What was he saying? Where are we today?
I'm taken aback. I'm still trying to understand how it is that Dr. King even saw it. Our producer asks the question in the World House, or in this World House, leadership is left to whom? I mean, who what is this, groupthink?
We are all leaders in our own right, in our own ways, in our own roles, right? And it depends upon the circumstances, the issues, the moment in time. But we all have to take charge of our lives and the life of our communities. Let me say it again. We all have the responsibility of taking charge of our lives and the life of our communities. That calls us all to some form of leadership.
And, you know, I still like I still like and think that there is room for the idea of a good shepherd. That when Baldwin is talking to King or writing about King in The Dangerous Road that appeared in Harper's, The Dangerous Road in front of Dr. King, he says that Dr. King was seriously struggling with becoming an avatar. Now, he does not spell out what an avatar is, except many of our listeners may have seen the green people or the blue people that are really human beings, but they function through technology and they're able to live and breathe in a different world and in a different space where obviously their humanity or alienity is connected to nature, it's connected to trees, it's connected to this kind of universal religion, which is their environment itself. Dr. King is trying to be some kind of avatar for an absent moral figure that we've been waiting for 1968 years at the time of his death. He's trying to struggle. That's part of the experiment here. The experiment here isn't just that we're in an experiment in democracy. We're also in an experiment in our faith, right? So whatever Dr. King's shortcomings were personally, I got them, you got them. Who doesn't have them? Who hasn't stepped outside of someone else's judgment for what constitutes grace in their lives? But it all boils down to the idea of what we are struggling and trying to be. And I believe Dr. King was trying to be some kind of disciple, some kind of moral figure, maybe even some Christ-like figure for something that we had great expectations for that had yet to come or had yet to present itself. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. When we come forward, more with Johnny Mack. He's taking us deep today when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Family officials and loved ones are mourning NYPD officer Islam killed in Monday's Midtown mass shooting. The 36-year-old working off-duty security was shot by the gunman. He leaves behind 2 kids and a pregnant wife.
You have a tendency to blame yourself. And I just want to say sorry to this family.
Speaking at Officer Islam's funeral, Black Mayor Eric Adams called the loss personal, and the officer was posthumously promoted to detective. President Trump is reportedly considering pardoning Sean Diddy Combs ahead of his sentencing. Combs faces up to 20 years for prostitution-related charges. The idea gained traction after his associates asked the White House for support. And Black New York City Mayor Eric Adams revived a Bronx casino plan that could net Trump's company $115 million. He vetoed a city council vote blocking zoning changes for the Bally's Casino project. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Emergencies can happen at any time. That's why building an emergency kit and having a plan is so important. Southern California Edison stays ready for the unexpected, and they encourage you to be prepared too. For more information and to update your outage alerts, visit SCE.com/be prepared.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers lost at Cincinnati 5-2. Their lead in the NL West is down to 3 games over San Diego. The Padres have won 5 straight. The Angels' 3-game winning streak was snapped with a 6-3 loss at home to Texas. The highest paid offensive lineman in the NFL plays for the Chargers. Left tackle Rashawn Slater signed a 4-year extension worth $114 million. $92 million is guaranteed. Slater, entering his 5th season with the Chargers, will average $28.5 million with his new deal. The HBCU Legacy Bowl, an all-star game for HBCU football players, got a major financial boost from the John Madden Foundation. The foundation, named in honor of the legendary NFL broadcaster, agreed to cover all expenses for the Legacy Bowl career fair, which attracts more than 800 HBCU students from around the country. The Legacy Bowl is scheduled for February 21st in New Orleans. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson.
Whoa,
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Become a U.S. citizen with the help of the Los Angeles Public Library. Get free and confidential information on immigration and citizenship. Visit lapl.org/NAI to find your nearest library or call us at 213-228-7390. That's lapl.org/NAI or 213-228-7390 and start your path to becoming a U.S. citizen with the help of the Los Angeles Public Library. Call 213-228-7390 or visit lapl.org/NAI.
Hi, everyone. My name is Raquel Graham, and I have a big announcement to make. I have my own radio show. It debuts on KBLA 1580 on August 2nd, and it is called Entrepreneuring. I'm an inventor, a Shark Tank winner, entrepreneur for over a decade, and a proud mom of 2. I created this show because I know firsthand that entrepreneurship doesn't have just one look. Entrepreneuring celebrates what building a business really looks like. Big, medium, small, and micro. Some of us are running multi-million-dollar operations. Some of us are braiding hair in our kitchens. We're bakers, grant writers, laundromat owners, event promoters. Mark your calendars. Please tune in August 2nd, KBLA 1580 at 1 p.m. Pacific time. No question is too big or small. Let me know what you'd like for me to cover. See you then.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Jesse Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. This is the World House with Dr. Johnny Mack. Johnny is very well traveled around Africa, Asia, Europe, and throughout our world. He is just one of the most thoughtful people that I've ever met in my life. Johnny, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you for having me, Jesse.
Johnny, let me leave the United States for a minute. Let me take what Dr. King, I think, would do, a mental flight. I love it when he uses that poetry. My mother once told me that, Jesse, you're not in prison. She said, remember when I took you to Paris? Remember when I took you to Africa? I just want you to look up at the ceiling and take a mental flight out of that space to some of the places that you've been. And I was like, wow, Mom, as I'm reading her letters in tears. Anyway, take a mental flight with me, Johnny, to some of the world's hotspots, and let's apply some of what these values represent and the circumstances that are presented to us today if we're trying to apply some kind of Kingian ethic. So I'm in a kibbutz. I'm at a festival on October 7th. And in reaction to that, I'm now seeing the starvation in the Gaza. Social edifice, values, clearly what happened on October 7th, wrong as hell. The reaction, starvation for babies, mothers, and children months later, deeply concerning. Johnny, let's start there.
Wow. You always throw the easy ones at me, Jesse. So, well, I think the place we start is not at October 7, but we will come there. I'll come back to it. But we start before October 7. October 7 is incident in time. Remember, just before our break, we were saying that violence and nonviolence have space over time, and things happen over time that have consequences in time. I hope I'm not being too technical or
No,
even too theoretical.
you're bringing the smoke. Come on, Johnny.
So what happened in time on October 7 was a consequence of what happened over time before October 7. And that's both on both sides of the conflict. And so I think that we have to understand and analyze what's happening in the present with the starvation and the deprivation and the inhumanity that is occurring in Gaza in time as a consequence of the overtime implications of the decisions that have been made regarding the people of Israel, the people of Gaza, of the West Bank, the people of Palestine. Remember that nonviolence in this context begins with a fundamental framework of principles and values. And those principles and values then must be inculcated in the social systems and structures of how we organize, that is, the social order. Remember, King calls for a restructuring of the social order. And if we don't infuse the principles and values of nonviolence structurally in how humans engage each other and engage the systems that we create, then we find ourselves confronted with the end time consequences of those values that we do infuse, those values of war, of greed, of rivalry, violent rivalry, and values of, of bigotry. They are what foster much of the conflict that we see, not only in Israel and Palestine, but in Russia and Ukraine, and between Tutsis and Hutus in the DR Congo and Rwanda and so many conflicts around the world. And so we can't start solely with the events in time. We have to understand the framework of social structures and the values that make those possible over time.
Listen, now you done gone from hitting me in the head to kicking me in the head. You went around the world far faster than I thought my questions were prepared to go. So we've been in the Gaza and in Israel. We've been to Ukraine. We've been to DRC, the Congo. We've been to sub-Saharan Africa. Let me put this nonviolent ethic, this edifice, these values questions. Let me put it on the American-Mexican border and at Alligator Alcatraz.
And so, Jesse, is that any different than the response that we gave regarding Israel and Palestine?
I don't think so.
The place changes, some of the faces change, but the underlying values and principles don't change, do they?
No, they don't. No, they don't. Okay, Johnny, now you're squeezing my head. All right, so Johnny, we got 4 minutes before the break. I don't know if I can take any more. Let me allow you to continue down your present line of thinking.
That's all right. So Jesse, let's consider this. When we talk about nonviolent social change, nonviolence was supposed to be an antidote to violence, right? That we could prosecute our grievances against the system, but we could do them nonviolently, and we can mimic the strategies of war and conflict without causing hurt or harm to individuals or property. And so think about this. In military science, for example, over time, military science has changed. As technologies change, as tools for communication have changed, so have how we've prosecuted our wars. And so today, well, we are using all forms of digital technologies. We're using quantum computing. We're using AI, all forms of current state-of-the-art technologies to prosecute wars. And so we have a new technology of war, even as we speak, that is continuously evolving. Here's the problem, Jesse. We don't apply that same technology strategy to our nonviolent movements. Where is our new technology in the 21st century for nonviolent social change? You know, let's go back to King's comment about sleeping through a revolution. As this revolution takes place right under our noses, what technologies are we investigating, studying, in order to apply new forms of social action? Stay with me, Jesse, on this. This is so incredibly important. And we should be talking about this, I hope, in our next several sessions. What new forms of social change, of social action technologies are we grappling with? We are sleeping through a revolution. Some of us are sleepwalking through a revolution. And now, Jesse, I'm going to get myself in trouble. Others of us are sleep marching through a revolution.
Because the technology has changed.
And we've not changed with it.
And we've not changed with it. Wow, Johnny. I am now scratching my squozen and kicked and punched head. I think that's right. I mean, maybe as soon as we get to it is tied to a quick gathering for a social injustice with a post that says we should all meet up in a corner and raise hell. But it doesn't approach the size and the scope of the grievance, if you will, of the technology that came together in that moment that created and exacerbated the problem.
Precisely.
And how does it live beyond the moment without just being a tool of anger?
Listen, Jesse King said that direct nonviolent direct action is the best tool the Negro has to use to overcome the injustices that Black folk were facing in the mid-20th century. He said it's the best tool, and we've held on to that. King said it, so it must be. That was 25 years ago.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Listen to KBLA Talk 1580. More with Johnny Mack when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, man. Hey, what's up, bro? What's the station you listening to? Oh, man, you don't know? That's Talk Radio. KBLA 1580 AM. Check it out. 1580 KBLA AM. 1580 Talk Radio. Progressive.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we're celebrating our 4th anniversary. And this track right here is the gift one of our devoted listeners presented to us.
Where you get some information, get a true education to know. Ooh, yeah. 1580.
How cool is that? Having a member of our KBLA delegation write us a song. Stop it. Our listeners love us and there ain't nothing we can do about it. Wouldn't want to. Thanks to Cardell and everybody else for turning on KBLA Talk 1580. We love you right black.
KBLA 1580 Talk Radio. It's like me. Oh, KBLA. Oh, Talk Radio. Progressive. KBLA.
It's been said that when someone you love has Parkinson's, you have Parkinson's.
The Parkinson's Foundation knows that the disease doesn't just affect the diagnosed. It affects everyone who supports and helps care for them.
If you have questions, the Parkinson's Foundation has answers.
We can help you understand the disease,
and give you tips for living a better life. Find your answers at parkinson.org or call 1-800-473-4636. The Parkinson's Foundation. Better lives together.
What's that sound? That's the sound of Downy Unstoppable scent beads going into your washing machine and giving your clothes freshness that lasts all day long. There it is again. It's like music to your ears, or more like music to your nose. That freshness is irresistible. Let's get a Downy Unstoppables bottle shake. And now a sniff solo. Nice. With Downy Unstoppable, you just toss, wash, wow, for all day freshness.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Worried about eviction? You have rights, and Stay Housed LA can help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between LA County, the City of Los Angeles, and local service providers. From Lancaster to Long Beach, we're here to help you with tenant education workshops, legal clinics, free legal services for eligible tenants, and online resources about tenant protection laws. Don't face eviction alone. Call our hotline at 1-888-694-0040. That's 1-888-694-0040. Or visit stayhousedla.org. Stay Housed LA, keeping Los Angeles residents in their homes. Stay Housed LA, your rights, your home, our community. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. KBLA Talk 1580, where our very special guest, none other than the great Johnny Mack. Johnny, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show in this, our final segment.
Thank you, Jesse.
Johnny, I'm going to get myself in a lot of trouble here, but I got to say this. When I was incarcerated, I found something. I found an experiment in the Constitution called the Finger of God. In my book that I wrote, I said there are 6 people who are aware that the finger of God is in the Constitution. That is the first 6 presidents of the United States. They are aware that it is there. I said, then it is lost until Abraham Lincoln finds it, and he wrestles with it as president of the United States. In my book, I say this. And then I say, I believe it is not found again until Martin Luther King Jr. finds the finger of God in the Constitution, hence his unprecedented patriotism in the face of evil. And then I found it in solitary confinement. So everything that you just said for me hit me so hard in the head because I came up with the understanding that one person, that's the highest form of religion in the world, between a person and God, not congregationalism, how many people in your choir, how many people in the church shouting and screaming. One person, one Martin Luther King Jr., one Gandhi, one Frederick Douglass, one Nelson Mandela, one Kamala Harris, one person in that religion at a time has the power to function as the commander of the army. That's David. And grant reprieves and pardons. That's David and Jesus. It's extracted from the linear theological system of Abraham, Matthew 1 through 17. Abraham begat Isaac, begat Jacob, begat, all the way down to verse 17. David, there are 28 generations from David to Jesus, commander of the army and militia, to Jesus of Nazareth, the repriever pardoner. One person gets to function in the lineage of David for the people in every generation. Dr. King found that in the Constitution, and mathematically it looks like this. The function of the lineage of David equals the sum, that's a sigma, of the first generation, Abraham, all the way to Jesus, that's the 42nd generation, times the integral of human spirit energy, that looks like a big S, times the time constant, T dt. That's a mathematical equation. It is in the Constitution, and it is the religion of Jesus, a man who functioned based upon all of the scriptures in the lineage of David for all of the people. The architects found that language in the Greek, the Latin, the French, and they brought it over to the American Constitution in English with the hope that someone one day would step forward with the value system, recognizing that the edifice itself had to be changed. And I said to myself, the only other person in human history who's found this language in English and understands that it's not two job responsibilities, a commander of an army who blows up a world and someone who forgives a few of their friends before they leave office. It is a permanent spirit energy that someone comes to us from the house of David. Someone comes to us from the lineage of David in a spirit to feed the hungry, to clothe the naked, to provide health care and housing and education for all of the people. And I have never heard it articulated more clearly than what I've heard from you today, Johnny Mack. Johnny, we've got about 6 minutes left in the program. I know you're going to close on a word of hope, but you've got much more time than just the word of hope in these final seconds.
Well, Jesse, I my undergraduate studies were at Oakwood College, now Oakwood University, and it included a degree in theology. I did a double major in business. I'm better at the business than I am at the religion and theology. But that said, I do think, Jesse, that the finger of God clearly was on Martin Luther King Jr. And we see it, I think, in his work. You and I can agree, I'm certain on that. I also think that the finger of God is on each and every one of us. And I think, as Gandhi would agree when he says that we should be the change that we seek, and that we are the hope that we're looking for, others have said. One of the things I like to say, Jesse, is that we should only do that which we can do, that must be done and won't get done unless we do it. I want to repeat that, if I may.
Take your time.
That in each of our lives, each one of us has a calling, I would argue. And in finding that calling, we should spend our lives doing only that which we can do, point one. That must be done, point two. And won't get done, point three, unless we do it, point four. And I think that Martin Luther King Jr. didn't realize in these words what I've just said, but I think that was his life commitment. I think King understood that his calling was to give hope to the hopeless, to call evil by its right name, and to call the nation and the world to that internal turbo that I spoke of last week, that drives us to what King talked about in the same article that I believe you read from at the start of our hour, and that is the moral arc of the universe.
Yes.
Bends toward justice. And in all my studies, Jesse, I've come to realize that moral arc of the universe, I wish this were mine, but it's not mine. I don't remember the author who said this. What makes that moral arc of the universe bend toward justice is each and every one of us. It's each and every one of us pulling on the end of that arc, holding on to the end of that arc, pulling it down toward justice. We determine the pitch of that arc, Jesse.
Mhm.
That arc is long or short depends upon our pull on the arc toward justice. It surely bends because King believed in the eternal spirit of humanity, that collectively we can realize a peace and justful world.
I think that theologian is Theodore Parker, who said that he did not understand completely the moral arc of the universe. And King is quoting him when he says that it bends towards justice. But I think what you add to it is a particularly important contribution, that we, the people, have to hold on to the arc and bend it now. It just doesn't bend on its own.
That's right. That's
We got to put some weight on it.
Put some
And
weight on it.
if I got to hold your shoulders and someone else has to hold my knees and somebody else is pulling at my feet, we are the leaders that we are looking for.
I think so. And that's why it's so important to do that which must be done. It has to be done. And if it won't get done unless we do it, then Jesse, you have to do it. I have to do that which I can do.
We all have to do it. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to Dr. Johnny Mack on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Johnny, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I can't thank you enough. When we come forward, it will be tomorrow on Fat Meat Fridays with Gina Towns and our very special guests. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Until tomorrow.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.